Hey everyone, welcome back to Everyday AI Made Simple. Today's news is packed with stories about music, hardware, lawsuits, and even cars that are about to get way smarter. Let's dive in. So, Amazon Music just dropped something new they're calling Weekly Vibe. And honestly, this feels like their big move to take on Spotify's AI DJ. Here's how it works. Every Monday, you open your Amazon Music app and you'll find a brand new playlist that the AI has cooked up just for you. It's not random. It's looking at what you've been listening to lately, figuring out your musical moods, and then refreshing things so you don't get stuck listening to the same old tracks over and over again. The playlist isn't just a reshuffle of songs you already know. Amazon says Weekly Vibe also sprinkles in fresh tracks you might like, so it's part greatest hits of your week and part music discovery. If you've been playing a lot of hip-hop, for example, your Weekly Vibe might keep some of those artists you already enjoy, but then throw in a couple of new names that match that style. Or if you've been leaning into pop, you'll get a batch of pop hits, plus a few newcomers to keep things interesting. And they've made it pretty easy to find. If you're in the app, just go to Library at the bottom of the screen, then tap on Made for You. That's where your Weekly Vibe will be sitting, complete with a title, a description, and the set of curated songs for the week. You can save the playlist if you love it, you can share it with friends, and you can even post it on social media. Now, if this all sounds a little familiar, that's because Amazon has been building toward this for a while. Last year, they released something in beta called Maestro. That was their AI playlist generator where you could literally type in a mood, like Chill Sunday, or even just toss in a few emojis, and Maestro would generate a playlist to match that vibe. Weekly Vibe feels like the evolution of that idea, but instead of you having to tell it what mood you're in, it's just learning from your habits automatically. And it's not the only AI tool Amazon has added to music. They also have this feature called Explore, which is more about deep diving into artists you already like. Say you're a big fan of an artist. Explore will highlight their best tracks, maybe some lesser-known ones, and also suggest similar artists you might want to check out. The point here is clear. Spotify has been the leader in AI-driven personalization, but Amazon isn't sitting this one out. Weekly Vibe is rolling out starting today, September 10th, across all subscription tiers in the US, and it works on both iOS and Android. If you're already using Amazon Music, this one's waiting for you right now. Now, shifting gears to Apple. Yesterday was their big September keynote, and this time, the vibe was very different. Apple went all in on hardware, sleek design, health tracking, performance boosts, but said surprisingly little about artificial intelligence. Which is interesting, because in a year when every other tech giant can't stop talking about AI, Apple pretty much kept it in the background. So, what did we actually get? The headliner was the iPhone Air. Apple says it's their thinnest phone ever, coming in at just 5.6 millimeters thick. That's razor thin compared to what we're used to. Inside, it's running the new A19 Pro chip, and Apple's bragging that this thing delivers MacBook-level performance in a phone. That's a bold claim, but considering how powerful their chips have been, it's believable. Then there's the Apple Watch. They've added some serious health tracking upgrades this time. The standout is blood pressure detection. That's something people have been asking for, and it's now built into the new model. Alongside that, the watch can pick up on other advanced health signals, which means it's moving beyond steps and heart rate into territory that's closer to what you'd expect from medical devices. And the AirPods Pro 3 also got some love. Better noise cancellation, sure, but the real kicker is built-in heart rate sensing. Yep, you put in your earbuds and they're monitoring your heart rate while you listen. Here's the catch, though. When it came to AI, Apple barely said a word. Apple Intelligence, their branding for AI features, was mentioned, but it wasn't the star of the show. Siri upgrades? Hardly touched. Generative features? Just a quick nod. They did mention visual intelligence and live translation, both of which are coming later this year, but the keynote was overwhelmingly about hardware. And that says something. Apple knows people buy their products for the design, for the ecosystem, for how polished everything feels. But at the same time, while they're showing off razor-thin phones and health sensors, Google, OpenAI, and Anthropic are racing ahead on the AI front. Apple seems comfortable letting the others fight over AI headlines, while they double down on what they do best: hardware that keeps people locked into their ecosystem. Now, speaking of Anthropic, this one's a big story. Anthropic has just agreed to pay $1.5 billion to settle a lawsuit over copyright infringement. And yes, that is the largest copyright payout in U.S. history. Here's the backstory. A group of authors, Andrea Bartz, Charles Graeber, and Kirk Wallace Johnson, filed a lawsuit last year claiming Anthropic had used pirated books to train its AI models. They specifically pointed to works being scraped from sites like Library Genesis and Pirate Library Mirror. The accusation was large-scale copyright infringement, basically saying Anthropic had pulled in millions of books without permission and fed them into Claude. Now, earlier this year, in June, a judge actually ruled that Anthropic's training practices could be considered fair use. So, legally speaking, they were in the clear for some of their data practices. But the part about pirated sources was still headed for trial, and that's where things got dicey. Instead of going through with that fight, Anthropic decided to settle. So here's what the settlement looks like. Anthropic will pay authors and publishers $3,000 per book, covering around 500,000 works in total. That's how they landed at the $1.5 billion figure. On top of that, Anthropic has to destroy all of the pirated datasets it used in training. Now, it's important to note, they are not admitting wrongdoing. This is just a settlement, not an admission of guilt. But here's the twist. The settlement still needs court approval. U.S. District Judge William Alsup has raised concerns about whether it's fair, and he's warned that the case could still go to trial if those concerns aren't resolved. There's another hearing scheduled for September 25th, so this isn't completely wrapped up yet. If it does get approved, though, this could reshape the entire AI industry. Think about what happened with Napster back in the day. Once the music industry cracked down on file sharing, companies had no choice but to start licensing music properly. This settlement could push AI companies into a similar shift, where they need to pay for training data instead of just scraping what's online. And while this doesn't set a formal legal precedent, it does send a signal. Creators now see that suing an AI company might actually pay off. You can expect more lawsuits, and you can bet AI companies are paying close attention. Now let's wrap with a story about cars. And not just cars, but cars that are about to get AI copilots built in. Qualcomm and Google have announced they're expanding their partnership to bring agentic AI into vehicles. The idea is to combine Google's automotive AI agent, which is powered by their Gemini models, with Qualcomm's Snapdragon digital chassis. That might sound like a mouthful, but here's the big picture. They're building conversational, personalized AI copilots that live in your car. These aren't just voice assistants that can change the radio station. They're multimodal, meaning they work with voice, touch, and even visual inputs. They're multilingual, they can handle multiple requests at once, and they're customizable so automakers can brand them however they want. For example, instead of every car having the same generic Google voice assistant, an automaker could give you their own branded AI experience, still powered by Google and Qualcomm under the hood, but customized to feel unique to that car company. Technically, this system uses a hybrid approach. Some of the AI runs directly on the device, which means faster responses for things like navigation or vehicle controls. Other parts connect to the cloud, which allows for continuous updates and evolving features. That balance between edge and cloud is key, because it keeps things responsive while still letting the system grow smarter over time. Qualcomm and Google are pitching this as a way to make development easier for automakers, too. They're offering pre-built capabilities and an optimized reference architecture, which basically means less time and cost for manufacturers to roll this stuff out. And there's a reason they're doing this. The auto industry is moving toward what people are calling software-defined vehicles. Cars are no longer just machines. They're becoming platforms where software defines the experience. With this partnership, Qualcomm and Google are positioning themselves at the center of that shift. Shiv Venkataraman, a VP at Google Cloud, said this collaboration is about giving automakers the ability to deliver secure, highly advanced, and branded AI companions. And Nakul Dugal, who heads up automotive at Qualcomm, called it a milestone for creating more personalized, digitally advanced experiences inside vehicles. The bottom line is that cars are evolving into intelligent, connected environments. and whoever controls the AI layer in the car controls a huge part of that experience. With this move, Google and Qualcomm are making sure they're not left out of that race. So that's the lineup today. We've got Amazon and Spotify battling it out with AI playlists, Apple showing off razor-thin iPhones while staying quiet on AI, Anthropic paying a record-breaking $1.5 billion to settle a copyright lawsuit, and Google plus Qualcomm turning cars into rolling AI platforms. That's all for this episode of AI in the News. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.